Good day everyone, welcome to this week's edition of the Vise Squad, brought to you by Tokens Fly Shop and Dr. Slick Tools. As promised last week, we were going to tie this little nymph here. So this is called the Zug Bug. You can tie it with or without a bead. Today we're going to tie it without a bead. So we're going to use a number 12 standard nymph, not the 2 extra long. If I was going to tie this with a bead head, I'd probably use the extra long hook for it. And we're going to start with some 025 lead-free wire. You can use lead, just depends on where you're fishing. Check your regulations, always. So that's 8 or 9 wraps. I don't want to cover the whole hook, I only want to cover about half the hook shank with it. I want to leave it right in the middle. This fly should look like a cigar, more or less, when it's done. Some sort of little thicker in the middle than it is at the head or the tail. So we're just going to even that wire out best as we can. Then we're going to grab some 70 denier UTC in black. I'm going to start right behind the eye. And then I'm going to make sure that my lead is kind of where I want it. So about the same front to back. And then I'm going to start tying that thread through the lead. And that'll help hold it in place once you get it started. There we go. And that'll stop it from sliding around on you. So we'll reach in with our scissors and get rid of our tag. And you can just run through it. Build a little dam at the back and that'll definitely stop it from sliding backwards. Next we're going to grab a Peacock sword, one of these guys, and I'm going to just grab 5 or 6 or 7 of these bits here. And unlike pheasant tail I would do that with it. But if I do that with it on these Peacock swords, it's not, all the tips are going to be different lengths. So I want to try and keep them all the same length. So I'm going to grab them sort of in their natural direction, hold them tight and pull. And then very carefully I'm going to switch my hands around here and grab those all by the tips. Like that. And then more or less they'll all be about the same length. And we'll just put those right on top of the hook shank. I'll put couple loose wraps in there just so we can get our tail length, which should be maybe just a little less than the overall length of the hook. So I think we're pretty close there. So I'll put some nice tight wraps in, and then I'm just going to tie those butts in all the way across the top of the lid. Clean them up off the front here. Like so. Now we'll get our thread to the back again, and we're going to grab some oval tinsel. This is size 14. This is a Danville oval tinsel, so it's definitely not small, maybe closer to a medium oval tinsel. If you had small, it would probably be fine. Large might be a little too heavy or too chunky on this fly. That might not look right, but probably not going to affect it much in the fish's eyes, but for aesthetics I like it a little smaller. So I'll tie that in on the far side of the hook, right up to where the tail starts. Next we're going to grab some Peacock herl, which I had gone ahead and pulled out already. Now when I pick out multiple pieces of Peacock herl, I like to leave the butts all the same length, so when I'm wrapping I don't. If one's shorter, sometimes it'll slip out and it unwinds on you. It's kind of a frustrating thing. So I like to leave the butts all the same. And then what I'll do is I'll just cut them off flush at the front. And then I'll take those and I'm going to tie them in on my side. Don't use super tight wraps to start, just because it will cut through the stem on these. And then you'll be starting over again. So once they're tied in, we'll leave I'm going to leave my thread about an eye width back. And I'm going to take those herls and I'm going to start twisting them very gently. Like that. And then we'll start wrapping them forward. And just be pretty gentle with them because they will break off, and definitely be careful around your hook point. And as you go, you'll see that it will unwrap itself just because you're turning them. So just keep twisting as you go. And once we're up to the front, we'll just reach in there with our thread. A few turns. And snip them up. Like so. And then we'll grab our oval tinsel and we're going to counter wrap that. And just work your way forward with 4 or 5 wraps. Nice even segmentation in it. There we go. Now we'll reach in there with scissors, snip that oval tinsel out of there. And to finish it off, we're going to put a brown saddle hackle up the front, which I have laying here somewhere. I've gone ahead and I've stripped all the chaff off the back end and most of the barbels, if you can see, just because it makes it a little easier to work with, because I'm only going to put 3 turns or so in. So we'll just get the tip pointing the right way, and I want the dull side of the feather to be to the fly and the shiny side to me. I'll just grab it so that the tip looks like that. Some nice securing wraps in there. Now you can cut this out now or you can cut it out after. I'm going to cut it out now, but you do have to be careful that you don't pull too hard with once you start wrapping it, otherwise it will pull that hackle out of there. So you just want to kind of preen those fibers backwards as you're wrapping. Try not to trap them. It can be tough sometimes with the saddle. It's such long fibers, they will naturally want to roll underneath. So just a little collar. I'll just reach in there, kind of wind through with our thread and grab the stem. Snip that out. I can see I had a couple under the eye here that we're going to reach in. Clean it up a little. And next we can just build a little thread head on there. Working your way backwards. And if you can get up over top of wrap or 2 on top of that saddle, it will help force it backwards. They don't have to be super tight wraps, but it just helps get them pointing the right way. We'll grab our whip finish tool. Throw a couple turns in there. Like so, and we'll snip our thread out. I'm going to finish this with a bit of bone dry. And while we're doing that, I'd just like to thank our sponsors. That's Dr. Slick and Togans for all they do for us. Really do appreciate the support. Thanks to Rick for spending countless hours behind the computer making making us look good. There we go. Zug bug. Pretty easy. I think that's gonna fish very well. I think it's gonna, just like a prince nymph, I think you're probably in the same ballpark anyway with it. At any rate, thanks again to our sponsors. And if you want to head over to fishingandoutdoors.ca for the Canadians, and now we have an American site as well, which will just it's very complicated how products and stuff get directed and whatever. It's well beyond me, but fishingandoutdoors.ca for the Canadians, fishingoutdoors.net, pardon me, for the Americans. Rick will throw the link up for us, but you can go check out all our sponsors' materials and tools and everything on there. Gives them a bit of love, gives us a bit of love, and go check it out. Hit subscribe, hit the bell if you enjoyed it. We always have new stuff coming on. We got a great new segment for women anglers, which is looking pretty good so far. It's going to be a fun one. At any rate, till next week, everyone, thanks so much.